Hey there, my friend. The transfer window is nearing its end, and the speculations, negotiations, and frustrations are in full swing. In today's video, we've got the following news. Brandon Williams to become a person of interest as Rangers' inner sanctum talks emerge. Gustavo Puerta transfer agreement reached amid Rangers links after an approach from Rangers. Rangers' stance on a last-minute James Tavernier exit shared amid transfer speculation. Desir's resolve tested. Matondo price tag, and Cantwell interest intensifies. Rangers' transfer confession delivered as one necessity emerges if more signings are to be made this summer. Before we get started, let me ask you, would you want to be in Clement's shoes? Imagine the pressure this guy is under. How does he even sleep at night with so many problems and things to sort out? At the end, I want to hear your opinion on the news, so make sure to leave a like and let's get into it. All right, let's chat about this Brandon Williams situation, shall we? Picture it. You're Philippe Clement, trying to build a solid Rangers squad while juggling injuries and a transfer window that's closing faster than you'd like. And then, in walks the name Brandon Williams, a lad who was once the golden boy at Manchester United, now available for free. Sounds like a dream, right? Well, almost. Williams, at just 23, has had quite the roller coaster of a career. He burst onto the scene at Old Trafford with everyone thinking he was the next big thing. Fast forward a few years, and he's without a club, having just come off a rather underwhelming loan spell at Ipswich. Sure, he had some decent moments, scoring against Huddersfield and Preston, but injuries and a bit of bad luck meant he only made 17 appearances last season. Now, with Ridvan Yilmaz sidelined, Clement's probably thinking Williams might be just what the doctor ordered to plug that gap. He's young, got some decent experience under his belt, and best of all, he won't cost a penny in transfer fees. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Off the pitch, Williams has had his fair share of drama. There's even a court case looming over an incident involving his car and some laughing gas. Let's just say it's not the kind of news you want to be reading about your new signing. And then there's the small matter of wages. At Manchester United, Williams was reportedly pocketing £65,000 a week. A tidy sum for a player who's not exactly been lighting up the pitch recently. So, the big question is, does Rangers take a punt on a player with a bit of baggage but plenty of potential? Or do they look elsewhere and avoid any potential headaches? It's a tough call, but if Clement's serious about bolstering his squad without breaking the bank, Williams might just be worth the gamble. After all, everyone loves a good comeback story, right? Rangers have been eyeing up Gustavo Puerta, the young Colombian dynamo from Bayer Leverkusen. Now it seemed like our Rangers lads might have a chance to bring him in, especially after showing some interest back in January. But as the transfer window can be as fickle as a Scottish summer, things have taken a bit of a twist. Brøndby, those Danish dark horses, have swooped in and are nearly across the finish line with a deal for Puerta. They're hashing out the final details with Leverkusen, either a loan with a buy option or a straight purchase for just under £3 million. And get this, there's even a cheeky little sell-on clause in there too. Puerta's got some thinking to do now, but it looks like he might be trading in the Bundesliga for the Danish Superliga. Now, you might be wondering, where does this leave us? Well, as it stands, it seems Rangers are out of the running unless something truly dramatic happens. Our man Philippe Clement has had a tough start to the season, still trying to clear out the old guard to make room for new blood. And while Puerta isn't exactly the seasoned midfielder we might have been hoping for, he could have added some steel to our midfield alongside Diomande and Barron. But with Brøndby in the lead and Rangers still struggling to offload the likes of Cantwell and Hagi, it looks like this one's slipping through our fingers. Ah, well, onwards and upwards, right? There's still time for a bit of magic in the transfer window. Hopefully. James Tavernier, the man who's been as reliable as your favorite cuppa on a cold day, has been at the center of some transfer whispers this summer. Word on the street is that Trabzonspor have been sniffing around, trying to lure him away from Rangers. But here's the kicker. Rangers aren't exactly looking to part ways with their skipper, especially not with the transfer window's curtains about to drop. Now, according to Leanne Crichton, there's this lingering feeling that if a hefty enough offer landed on the board's desk, they might just be tempted to cash in. You know how it goes, money talks, and with the current squad looking a bit thin on the ground, that kind of cash injection could be tempting. But here's where it gets tricky. Rangers are in a bit of a bind. The squad's already stretched thinner than a piece of toast at the end of the loaf. Players are either crocked, not match fit, or just not cutting the mustard. And then there's Tav, always fit, always ready, always in the lineup. Losing him now? Well, that would be like pulling the rug out from under Clement just when he needs all hands on deck. Sure, some fans might argue that Tavernier's best days are behind him, that he's part of the problem rather than the solution. But let's be honest, his set-piece delivery still has plenty of magic, and those goals don't score themselves. Selling him now, with the squad in its current state, would be a gamble, one that could backfire spectacularly if the board isn't careful. So, while it might have made sense to consider selling him earlier in the summer, doing it now? That's a risk Rangers might not want to take. Here's hoping the board keeps their heads screwed on tight and doesn't make a move they'll regret when the season heats up. Philippe Clement's got his work cut out this summer, trying to balance the books while keeping the team competitive. First up, we've got Cyril Desires, the man who splits opinions faster than a dodgy VAR call. Cagliari, the Serie A side, are sniffing around him, thinking they can swoop in and grab our main striker. Now you might be thinking, but Desires has been scoring for us. And you're right, 22 goals last season and already 2 this campaign. But here's the kicker. Even with his form, it's unclear whether Rangers would be willing to part with him just yet. On the flip side, Todd Cantwell, well, he's practically got one foot out the door. After handing in a transfer request and getting sent off to train with the B team, it's pretty obvious his days at Rangers are numbered. Trabzonspor from Turkey had been sniffing around, but things went a bit quiet there. However, word on the street is that they're back in the mix and looking to seal the deal. They've not found the playmaker they're after, so they're doubling down on their efforts to snag Cantwell. Then there's Rabbi Matondo, who's been more of a bench warmer than a regular starter. Leeds United are eyeing him up, and Barry Ferguson reckons Rangers could cash in for around £1.5 to £2 million. Not a bad shout, especially if it frees up some funds for Clement to bring in new blood where we really need it. So there you have it. A potential striker sale, a want-away playmaker, and a winger who might just be the ticket to some much-needed transfer funds. Rangers are in a bit of a pickle, aren't they? Philippe Clement's got his hands tied. He wants to bring in some new faces, maybe some seasoned lads like Robin Proper and Vaclav Cerny. But there's this wee issue. The wage bill is bursting at the seams. Now, the gaffer's made it clear he can't exactly march players out the door with a boot to the backside, no matter how much he might want to. It's all about finding the right balance, but that's tricky when some of the squad know their time's up, yet they're still hanging around like a bad smell. Clement mentioned Todd Cantwell and Giannis Hagi, who could be on their way out to join the likes of Connor Goldson, John Lundstrom, and Ryan Jack. And don't forget Borna Barisic, who might be packing his bags too. But here's the kicker. Even with these potential exits, the club needs to sell before they can buy. It's not just about trimming the fat, it's about making room for new talent that can actually make a difference. And let's not even get started on the financial hit from getting knocked out of the Champions League by Dynamo Kiev. That gap between Rangers and Celtic, it's looking more like a chasm. But Clement's got his head on straight. He knows money isn't everything. Sure, it helps, but if cash was all it took, the richest clubs would win every year. It's about getting the best out of what they've got, even if it means working with what's left after a summer clear-out. He's talking about getting the new lads settled, building those connections on and off the pitch, and making the most out of a squad that's been battered by injuries. So the race is on. Rangers need to shift some players out if they're going to make any more moves before the window slams shut. And if they can't, well, Clement's just going to have to work some magic with what he's got.